Guys, welcome. We're live here at the National Archives, and we've got a very interesting lineup. I'm going to just introduce you, and when I get to the end, give them a big round of applause. Representing Ireland, we've got Pat Buckley. From Sweden, Josephine Ginny. From France, Eric Lamartinelle. From Australia, Melissa Weatherly. And from Argentina, Hector Libra. Now, this session is all about life after the saddle. Now, that's got to get your brain going a bit, because when did you retire from the saddle? Pat Buckley.
I had my last ride at Sedgefield on the 4th of February 1974.
1974?
Yes.
His last ride was at Sedgefield in 1974.
That's right, I broke my arm.
You broke your arm?
Yeah. Is my machine not working?
That's working now, we can hear you.
Can you?
Yes.
Yes, the light's on.
The light's on.
Yeah, that was the last ride I had. I have actually ridden since I rode in one of Bob Champion's cancer research races at Liverpool, right, on the flat mount. Yes. And I rode quite a bit in trial races in New Zealand and Australia after my first 10 years in the Middle East. I went home from Oman, where I've been for 10 years. And I decided I'd go down below and really, really enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it?
Yes.
Your biggest win was what?
Selling hurdle. No, my biggest win, of course, was the Grand National in '63. Yeah.
The Grand National, for those of you who don't know, for people watching at home, is the biggest steeplechase in the world. It's the most dangerous steeplechase in the world, and believe you me, in those days, the fences did take some jumping. And you got up to beat a friend of mine, didn't you? John Lawrence, Lord Oaksey.
Lawrence, Lord Oaksey, yeah. He was John Lawrence in those days, yes, yeah. The Honourable John. And yeah, I managed to get him I only nailed him in the last 50 yards, you know.
Poor John. He never forgave you, did he?
Ah, he did. He did.
Oh, no, he didn't.
Nemesis at my elbow, he said.
I love it.
But I was fit that day, and poor John wasn't, if you know what I mean.
I love it. And the real reason he retired from racing, what was it? Apart from the fact you broke your arm, what was the real reason you said, I've got to stop this? Because one day at Wetherby?
Yeah, a certain amateur, not renowned for his bravery or his intelligence, got up my inside. And I went back to the weighing room, and the boys said, "What did you let that bloody Tomo up your inside for?"
That's true. And he said, if Tomo gets up my inside, I've got absolutely no future in race riding. It was great. Yeah. It was good.
He wasn't bad as an amateur, you know, but all right, then he said it, not me.
I was desperate. So when you were riding, in those days, take us back. I mean, we're going back a long time. Were you planning for your retirement when you were riding winners all over the country?
No, I was, how should I put it? I'd set up a livery yard pre-training. I used to break a lot of young horses for the captain Neville Crump, who was with, and luckily I was getting beautiful young horses, store horses from Ireland, for likes of Lord and Lady Cadogan, Lord and Lady Joycey, people like that, you know, and I could give them as much time as we wanted, really.
So that was a plan for the future?
That was my plan. I thought I wouldn't want to train, quite frankly.
Yes.
But I had so many nice young horses in the stable that I was breaking and going on. Several of the owners said, well, why don't you get a trainer's license and train them?
Yes.
And I thought, well, it's the owners suggesting, it's not me going begging to the owners. And I did. I trained for 365 days.
That's exactly...
1 year.
Exactly. I worked that out.
Yeah.
And you trained for a year and you said, why did you say this is not for me?
Because I'd been approached by the Jockey Club, actually, to work as a stipendiary steward. Because I'd been involved with that type of thing for a long time whilst I was riding. I was I was the original secretary of the Professional National Hunt Jockeys Association. That was when it started. That would have started in about 67, 68, sometime around about then.
So why didn't you say yes to the Jockey Club? The offer of becoming a steward sounds good.
The trouble was, old chap, they said to me, we can't actually give you an appointment for about 3 years, you know. And I said, why on earth not? Who's going to feed the wife and kids? And they said, well, you have too many close associates in the game. Really? Yes. And they thought that would make a difference? I thought I'd be favoritism creeping in there, yeah.
I can't believe that.
Honest to God. And then, in the meantime, I got an offer to go to the Middle East.
And you've been here ever since?
Oman. And that was in 1977, I think, yeah.
But that's entirely different from Ireland, from North Yorkshire. Suddenly,
you're in...
Exactly. But it must have been a heck of a shock.
It wasn't a shock, no, because I was desperately looking forward to going there. Yeah. And the recompense was very good. and the opportunity of establishing an equine empire. That was the actual terms of reference of my job. And I said to Joyce, I said, what do you think? And she said, well, why don't you go and have a look at it? And I went, and the second night I rang her and said, this is it. We're here.
That's it. And what was it like in those days? There were no jets in those days,
Well,
they were just propellers,
went on the old Gulf Air,
Yeah.
TriStar it was, yeah. We used to travel first class, that was another benefit. And they used to, in those days, a beautiful bar, all the big Havana cigars laid out, you know, and
Is that right?
your own bottle of scotch, your own bottle, yeah, honest to God, yeah, beautiful. And I stayed there for 10 years, actually.
I'm not surprised. I love it.
Not on the airplane,
Of course not, of course not. I love it. It does sound good. Let's move on to a girl who's a little bit younger than you, Josephine Chinney, who I've had the pleasure of knowing for a few years. She's doing very well in TV in Sweden and on the track at the racecourse. Tell us about your prowess as a jockey, because you used to live in Newmarket. Tell us about how you used to be before you became a TV lady.
I used to work in racing in Newmarket in England. I was apprentice and I rode a few races in England. And then I went back to Sweden again, and I still continue as an apprentice. And then I had my first injury, my back. And then I got back from racing, and then I became a jockey. I was riding okay. And then I had a knee injury as well. And they told me I would never ride again, so I never got back to that doctor because I felt that I didn't want to believe him. I was a bit stubborn. And then I was training really hard, and I got in physio, and the lady who helped me there, she said, don't worry, we're going to help you out. She believed in me, and she saw that I could do it. So I got back in the saddle again, but I didn't ride any races after that. So I was riding every morning, and I was doing other works, not in racing, but I was working in a shop, in a bakery shop. I was a manager, assistant manager. I quit racing, but I still rode out when I could. And then I felt that I wanted to go back in racing again, so I started to work. I went to Dubai for a season, worked for a trainer, a Norwegian trainer there, and then I felt this urge to start riding again, as in a race, because in Sweden, even if you've been apprentice, you could still turn amateur after 5 years, so that's what I did. And I started to ride amateur races again, and that was the biggest highlight of like all these years not being able to ride, and I won my first race back, and then I couldn't stop.
And you became world champion?
Yes, after that I got to represent Sweden in a world championship called the Figentry, and I became world champion. So,
which is outstanding. It's lovely to have a world champion on the stage. Brilliant. But being an amateur, you don't get paid.
No, we don't get paid.
How were you? So you think to yourself, hang on, I love doing this, but I've got to earn a living. So what were your thoughts then?
Well, I approached the race course, Täby race course. That's the race course in Stockholm. And now we changed to Bro Park, but at the time we had Täby race course, and I approached them and I said, would it be possible for me to start doing the racing interviews at the racetrack? And they were thinking about it, and then they said, yes, we get you a trial on, because I figured out that, well, I cannot earn a living from being amateur, and maybe one day I'm going to be injured, so I won't be able to ride out anymore, and so that's how I felt that I like to talk, and I know racing, and I know everybody in racing, as in Sweden, so I felt that that could be something for me.
It's lovely, but that just happened, didn't it?
Yeah.
You hadn't planned for it when you were 17. You didn't say to yourself, I'm going to ride till I'm 30, then I'm going to marry a multimillionaire or whatever. It just happened?
Yes, gradually. I felt that we needed more people doing interviews in the Swedish racing, and I think that we need people that can show our lovely sport to people, and enthusiasm, you know. So that's what I felt. And trotting is a big thing in Sweden, but not many people know of horse racing, so I wanted to be like the face out and try to teach people about horse racing in Sweden.
Well, you're doing so well, and I watch her in Sweden and work with her. She's very, very good. I'd like to move on to Eric Lamartinelle. He's the good-looking French guy in the middle. Thomas should have got the Specsavers. Eric, just tell us, we know this is the man who trained the winner of the world's richest purebred Arabian race, R.B. Byrne, last year. He'll be defending his title. But just take us back. You started life as a steeplechase jockey. What was it like in those days, riding over the jumps? A very dangerous job to have, Eric.
Yes, it's a dangerous job, but it was my dream. So when you're a jump jockey, you don't think about the danger. So it's a beautiful pleasure to ride a horse and for jump all the fence you can have. Of course, you fall down. I think I ride around 2,000 race. You fall down 1 on 10. So it's sometimes remember one race I fall down 3 times because at this time you can jump again on your horse. And I go again, I fall 1 time, the trainer catch the horse, and I go again on the horse, and I fall down again. But now in France, it's not allowed anymore. So when you don't think about the danger, you go, you just go. The moment you start to think, it's time to finish.
And at the same time, when you start to think about your next career, I mean, we say retirement from the saddle. I mean, we're talking about you could be 25, you could be 35. We're not talking about normal people who work where they got 60 or 65. So when you were going for it, getting back on, getting hurt, were you planning for your retirement then, or not?
Not yet, but I was thinking that jump jockey is not, like you say, something until to the retirement. So, and I always love to, with a friend, we bought a horse, and I trained him after my job. And we won 2 races. I say, I think I will become trainer after. And in France, you can do also in the same time trainer and jockey. So you can ride your horse and for anybody else. So I start to apply for my license when I was 28. And until 35, I do riding my horses, some horses for the different trainer. And I continue until 35. After I stop to ride. I decided I have many horses in the training and in my stable. I say better not. My next future is to be trainer.
But it's not easy, is it? Because as a trainer, you need owners who have to pay you, so you get the money in, so you can buy the food for the horses, you can pay your staff. It's not easy to start, is it?
No, it's not easy, no. But in France, I was a trainer in France. It's not easy to find owner, and very charged by the tax, everything. So. And one time, when I decided to stop to ride, because one day I was riding in the province, and I was alone with my horse and the breeders, and I was riding my horse, everything was fine. And the next race, I ride another horse, and I fall down. I was in the coma for half an hour, so hopefully the owner was with me, he can bring back the horse. So. And I have 30 horses in the stable. I say, I cannot do this for a long time, better rest.
Amazing. You're doing so well over here. How are you finding it now as a trainer here in Abu Dhabi?
Well, I learned a lot with the jump race and in France, and when I came here, I used to never train Arabian horses before, but it's like we have in France half thoroughbred more for the jump race and some flat race. Very similar with the character. So I learned a lot with them, and here I apply what I learned in different places.
Your horses are in tremendous form. You send out the first, second, and third in the big race at Abu Dhabi, and you've got R.B. Byrne running in the big race again on Friday. What's the latest news on R.B. Byrne and your horses?
Actually, for the first meeting, they look fit enough. It's not easy here to prepare the horse with the heat, because especially this summer it was very, very hot, so you wake up very early to train them. And all the horses come from Europe, have racing maybe one month ago, so they are very fit. But last year it's what happened with Byrne, and we have enough. We have a good training center to prepare them, everything we need. So for tomorrow, I think they are ready.
Is the horse as fit as he was last year? Is he better?
He look good.
Say no more. I think we got the wink there. So R.B. Byrne, the favourite in tomorrow's big race. He won it for the first time. No horse has ever won it twice because it's only the second running. Let's move on to the lady just next to you. Melissa Weatherly. She comes from Australia. And tell us, you weren't a jockey. You weren't, or were you involved in, how did you get into it? Did you love the racing side or what?
I've always loved sport. I grew up in a little country town farming community that our whole life revolved around sport. And when I was 15, I wanted to be a sports psychologist, but didn't know much about it or how to go about it. So I went on and had a teaching career, and in recent years I studied careers education, and I was working as a careers practitioner in a school. And when I did that, I had to look at my own career and pathway and realised I still did really love sport. And I've always had a fascination about how athletes transition out of sport and how they cope with that. We see athletes that retire and then make a comeback or have a lot of issues when they retire, and there's a gap that they haven't been able to fill, and I was really interested in that, and I ended up studying careers counselling for elite athletes, and that was part of the reason I probably got the role at Racing Victoria. So I run the apprentice jockey program plus promote careers in the racing industry, and obviously work with particularly our apprentice jockeys, but also senior jockeys around careers planning and careers transitions.
So what are you saying to them? Do they knock on your door and say, can you help me because I'm thinking of packing up in a few years' time? Or are they 19-year-old kids who say, listen, I've got to... How does it work?
For us, when we're interviewing for recruiting our apprentices, we ask them on the interview day, and we say to them that it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when your career as a rider is going to finish. So have you thought about what else you would like to do beyond that career? At that age, usually they have some ideas that they might not act on, but it's more just having, one, saying it's okay to talk about it and have those options, and two, that they do have it in their mind somewhere. And sometimes it might be a senior rider that's ready to retire and they've worked with our sports psychologist or had a chat with another support group within our organisation, and I might just have a conversation with them, and then it's just working out what's going to be the best pathway for them. And sometimes they don't realise that they're ready. We've got apprentices that we know probably aren't going to continue race riding, but we have to wait for them or have just general conversations with them to see when they are.
But it's alright having a chat with someone. So say I'm an apprentice, I'm not going to make it, I'm 25 years of age and I want to be a banker. What can you do?
We can definitely support them to do further study. Probably some of the other things we do is, one, we like to take our apprentices when they've completed Year 12, or we encourage them and support them to complete their secondary education. So if and when that happens, they're in a better position in regards to going on to do further study if they want. I think in the racing industry, we're in a really unique position because many other professional athletes in a sport, when they retire, all they can do is go on to be a commentator or a coach. And in racing, as Pat mentioned earlier, and we've got 3 living examples here of people that have gone on to different careers within the industry, and I think we've tracked our apprentices for a number of years, and 90% of them actually stay in racing because we've got former jockeys who are barrier attendants, they're stewards, they're trainers. So there's lots of opportunities because they love the industry, and it's really nice they can stay in the industry in a different capacity. But we still, if they wanted to do something else, we would support them to do that and help guide them along the way.
And you've certainly helped the guy who won the world title last season here, Dylan Dunn. Tell us this. It's an amazing story, this. Tell us more. So
Dylan, funnily enough, when we were actually coming over here for the race and we were on the plane, he and I were having quite a conversation around it because he knew that his time was probably coming to an end as an apprentice because he was having trouble managing his weight. He'd had a big couple of years. Obviously, it's what he'd always wanted to do because his dad's a professional senior rider and achieved a lot in racing, and it was a great desire of Dylan's. He'd got his Year 12 education, and he and I were talking about it on the way over, and that's what a lot of it is just having those initial conversations. And he was very keen on getting into the media, so he did a lot of work in the background with other people not knowing, and he got, after the apprentice race, he got sick and was out for a while, and I think he realised that was it. It was taking too much of a toll on his body. He had two interests, which was really property development. So he's gone and done financial planning and set up a financial, a broking business with his dad. And he was really keen on the media. So we'd done a lot of media training anyway. And in their final year, we do another quite high-level media training, and he accessed that person that delivers that training and did some work with him to really develop his skills, and then got in contact with racing.com. We're lucky we have a free-to-air racing channel, and he's recently taken up a position with them. So he does the post-race interviews on horseback, and he's also been doing commentary during the week. So it's been really fantastic for us to see that we haven't lost that young person from the industry, and he'll go on and have a really successful career. And then it's a really good, he's a good role model then for other young people to be able to transition into other roles in the industry.
It's a lovely story, isn't it? So I'm pleased, Dylan Dunn. That's lovely to hear. And it's a real living example that the guys can really make it. The guy at the end, or there's two guys at the end, this guy is from Argentina. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about him. He doesn't speak English, he speaks Spanish, so we got Juan, his assistant, over there as well to translate. But just let me just tell you what this guy's done. He's ridden over 2,000 winners, including 60 Group 1s. He's trained also for 20 years. He's had over 200 winners. And since becoming the boss of the apprentice school in Argentina, his apprentices have won over 10,000 races. Let's say a big welcome to Libra. That is incredible. So Juan, we've got to start, you know, he was a jockey, he's a trainer, he's done it. How did it all go for him? He was a jockey, why then did he become a trainer?
¿Por qué te convertiste en entrenador después de haber sido jockey?
Bueno, es la carrera a seguir, ¿no? Sí, es escalafón. Jockey, cuidador y después lo que sea.
Well, I think that when a jockey retires, the most easy way to continue is to training, and after that, if you do well or not, you can do other things too.
So why did he give up the training
to start
training the apprentices?
Bueno, me ofertaron ser el profesor de la escuela, me interesó mucho, un desafío importante, tenía ideas diferentes y me fue bien.
Well, I was offered to work at school. I thought it was a nice challenge. I had good ideas, and well, luckily we did good.
It's a truly remarkable fact that he's had 10,000 wins from his apprentices. How has he achieved that? What has he told them that has made them successful?
Dice que es un logro muy importante las 10.000 carreras ganadas. ¿Cómo llegaste a eso? ¿Qué le enseñaste a los chicos para que logren eso?
Para mí lo más importante fue enseñarles de qué se trata el caballo, de conocer el caballo, de tratar de entender al caballo. Empecé por ahí porque ellos van a correr caballos y deben saber lo que es un caballo. Y dedico mucho tiempo a eso.
Well, for me, the most important thing of riding a horse, and what our school is focused, is to teach them what a horse is, and to learn how horses behave and why do they do different things. So that's what we look for in our school.
That is to give them the ability in the saddle. But does he also advise them in Argentina that things perhaps, they're not all going to be champion jockeys. Does he advise them to plan for the future early?
Bueno, dice que esto es muy importante, pero que no todos los jockeys van a tener un gran futuro, y qué otras herramientas les das o qué otras salidas les puede dar la escuela.
Es una cosa que me interesó toda la vida también, que iba a ser el jockey después cuando termina su carrera. Siempre me interesó la vida del jockey. Aplaudo lo que hace Ifra defendiendo al jockey. El jockey es una persona que viene de un lugar bastante bajo y que cuesta mucho que pueda seguir consiguiendo otros trabajos. La escalera de jockey, entrenador, capataz, peón, variador, termina haciéndose al revés después. Termina siendo sereno o peón de caballos. La idea de mi escuela, la idea creo de todas las escuelas debería ser educar, educar, educar. Hacer carreras alternativas porque hay carreras cortas que aquellos que terminaron la secundaria la pueden hacer.
Go for it, Juan. Right, over to you, Juan.
Wow.
Well, I have been always interested in the life of the jockey after the saddle. Y ya, arrancamos mal. There are a lot of things of a jockey can do, and we try to give our students the right tools and to let them know that they can be very, very good work riders or trainers or assistant trainers, help veterinarians work, but it's sometimes the way around, and they end up working as a groom or in a farm. And we as schools should support them and try to give them an alternative course so they can become professionals and do something else when they finish riding.
It's an interesting one, isn't it, Pat? What advice would you give the youngsters now? You're starting off again. You see the youngsters, you're watching the children riding the ponies, because we got the pony race tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they're only young, 13, 14 years of age, but these kids now are wanting to become jockeys, aren't they?
Yeah. I had my first ride when I was 13 in Ireland.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you win?
No.
No.
Wasn't a fairy tale, but anyway.
But,
But then I broke my leg then, and that was the end of my flat career, because I suddenly was in traction in hospital for 3 months.
After your first ride at 13?
No, not first ride.
No.
At that time.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd finished school. I was going to serve my time on the Curragh as an apprentice jockey. Mad keen to get in there with the P.P. Burns and all those jocks.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, riding a pony, good pony, slipped on a cow path and dislocated my left ankle completely. And they put me in traction in hospital. And when they took the thing down after, it wasn't quite 3 months, about 9-10 weeks, and they brought the scales round, and I'd gone up 14 pounds.
No.
I did. And
so what about the same weight as you are?
Oh, yes. It's one thing, you should have been a comedian, Tom. Yeah, and that basically was the end of even thinking about having to go to be a flat jockey, you know. Yeah. And then I got a chance in November 1957. I came across to England. I became a Yorkshire lad.
Yes, you did.
With Neville Crumb, who had trained 2 Grand National winners previously, and was just about to train another one. He trained Merryman in 1960, if you remember.
And I saw his jockey Jerry Scott the other day. And
how's Scotty?
He's fine. He sends his very best. There was a funeral. The great Patrick Haslam, the trainer, died, and it was very sad. And many of us turned up, and Jerry was there, and he sends his very best.
Thank you very much.
To you and George. But listen, you know, you're a Grand National winning jockey. You live with that for the rest of your life. It's like scoring a goal in the cup final, things like that. Very few people can achieve what you have achieved. But you can't live on that, can you?
It's helped me over the years, I'd have to say. I mean, it had, in those days, in the early, the 62, 63, well, 63 I won the National. Well, then I went out to 3 weeks later, I won the Whitbread Gold Cup, which was the second biggest steeplechase in UK then. And yeah, it did help me an awful lot. I was getting a lot of outside rides as well. I mean, and I was a person, stupidly, which I wouldn't advise everybody to do it, I would ride literally anything. Because you got £7 for doing it, you know, and £10 if you won. But I never got off a horse, you know, never. I'd ride anything.
So £7 was the riding fee,
yeah,
which in dirhams is?
At the, what is it
35
now?
35 dirhams?
35, yeah, 35.
You got 35 dirhams, you got 50 dirhams if you won?
If you won, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But there again, a gallon of petrol will only cost you 1 shilling, you know.
That is true, in the good old days. So in those, you don't think about it, do you? You just get on a ride. And were you planning, were you putting the money in the back pocket or investing for the future?
You keep it in the back pocket, right?
Love it, love it.
Yeah, I mean, I used to try and save, yes. I had to, really. But it was lucky I got a good few quid in the beginning for winning the national.
It set you up.
Which made, and I actually was lucky, I bought a little property.
Yes.
And it went on from there, really.
You've got, you've got a brain, and you're always thinking about the future. Well, and you have as well, Josephine. You don't just get on ride horses and fall off or win or whatever. You're always thinking about, like we are on TV, the next question. You've got to keep thinking all the time.
In front of him.
Yeah, you always have to be on ball and think what's going to happen. And I think another great advice is that I've been traveling a lot, and that helped me a lot. I've been working everywhere, nearly everywhere. I've been working in England, in Dubai, in France, in Scandinavia. So I think as well as a young jockey, or even if you retired, try to see the world and try to get more work opportunities, because especially in Scandinavia, where the industry is not so big. So try to see and get experience elsewhere. Many Swedes are traveling around the world just because it's bigger around the world. We go to Australia, we go to New Zealand, to France. So that's a great experience as well, and see the different way of training, different way of being a reporter, so that's my advice.
Do you do that as well as a trainer? I know you're concentrating totally on the horses, but all trainers say, I'm only as good as my staff, the people who work for you. Do you advise them? Say they work in the morning, they turn up at 5 in the morning, they finish at 11 o'clock, then they're back at 4 o'clock to brush the horses down. Do you help them? Do you advise them? The young apprentices, when I was your age, I wish I'd done. Do you do that to your staff?
Yes, when I got the chance to have an apprentice, I always teach them, correct them in the morning, and push them to go to the race and learn a lot, look after the good jockey, and always learn, and watching the race on the TV. That's just to improve every day. Every day we have something to tell them to improve.
Improve, it's the only way. And going to Australia, do you use some of the older jockeys to come back and help and advise? Because they know better than anybody.
We definitely do. We're lucky we get our apprentices in every month for training, and quite often we'll have senior jockeys that they'll come in and talk to them. They're lucky they get to sit beside them in the jockey's room as well, and have those types of conversations. We also have a program with the Victorian Institute of Sport, so we actually have a lot of other athletes, from other professional athletes from sports, come in and talk about their careers. So, because sometimes racing can be a little bit insular, and they think they're the only ones that go through those issues. So,
is racing different from other sports? You mentioned athletes, just say. Race guys, apprentices, people who work in racing, different to former rugby players, or
I think they all go through ups and downs. They go through professional crisis of confidence, injuries, not having a good run of luck. So I think it's good for the riders. If you're in an institute of sport, you could be a rower sitting next to a golfer doing rehab, and you can compare notes, whereas with jockeys, they're just together all the time. So it's really good to expose them. And a number of our apprentices have said they've found that a really valuable part of the program, that they're not on their own, and it's been great to hear from other, an aerial skier that's won a gold medal at the Winter Olympics, or a rower that's has to make weight for their rowing category, to hear from them about what they go through. And also because a lot of Olympians are not fully professional, they're not getting paid all the time, so they are studying, going to university, employed in other jobs, and juggling their sporting life and their personal life. So it's great for them to hear those things, to be able to compare, and maybe a bit of a reality check for them as well.
It's interesting. I remember playing golf a few years ago with a former, still a jockey at the time, a top man, and Richard Hills, who won the Dubai World Cup for Sheikh Hamdan Al Mutawakkil. And I remember playing golf with him. And there was something in his back pocket that kind of said, there's something falling out of your back pocket. And it was a check for quite a bit of money. And I thought, wow. And I picked it up, and there were quite a few notes there. And this was a few years ago when he was around, say, 35, 36 years of age. I said, that's a nice check you've got there. And he said, yes, it's my pension. I I said, what, you're only 35, whatever, you know, normally people get a pension at, you know, your age.
Yeah,
you know.
thank you, Jerry.
And he said, no, he said, my father, Barry Hills, told me that as soon as I left school and as soon as I started working, I started a pension. He said, I wasn't putting much in. And he started that when he was 17, and nearly 20 years later, I can tell you it was a very nice check. And I thought then, why didn't we do that? Now I know life has changed and things aren't quite as they were and whatever. But I wish, you know, when I'd started, I'd had a pension as well. It's a good idea, isn't it? Because you think, oh, I'm only 17, 18, I'm not going to retire till I'm 65. But of course, you can't go on being a jockey over jumps after 30 or 35. And on the flats, you know, just a few years more.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a good, I was always of the mind that I did have one or two little pension schemes, if you like, you know, investment and mature after so many years, you know. And I advised all of the jockeys when we formed the Jockeys Association, particularly the younger boys, you know, you earn a few quid, put it away, don't spend it, whatever you do. Because you have plenty of time to spend it in later life, you know. So I would advise any apprentice at all to, if they have a few spare quid, put it away, you know, save it.
Save it and invest for the future. Always keep the bus fare home in your back pocket. That was what my dad used to tell me. And what would you do, Josephine? You're the same age as a lot of the kids. You're only a few years. How old are you now?
35.
35. So you wouldn't have been thinking of planning for your retirement. But it was thanks to almost breaking your leg that you got into TV.
Yes. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, I think as well, I was thinking before that another thing is that don't be afraid of asking for help. Don't be afraid of asking seniors of advice. Or I came to Tomo 2 years ago and I said, Tomo, please, could you help me? I would like to do some reporter jobs and do interviews. And you were like, okay, great. You can start now. Follow me. And I followed you at the races, and I got great ideas, and you helped me so much. And that was just because I dared to ask. So I think it's like, don't be afraid of asking for help. And especially the jockeys. Many jockeys would help you. I have many friends that helped me throughout my career. Even as an amateur, I always go to the senior jockeys, and I go, where's the best ground? What can I do? How can I ride that horse? And have you ridden this horse? Okay, please give me some advice. I always do. And I don't feel that there's many who would say, oh, I don't bother about you. I won't tell you anything. But don't be afraid of us. The worst you can have is a no. So that's why I went up to Tomo.
And I didn't say no, and she was really good, I tell you. Keep asking questions.
Yes.
It's true. That's what I do all my life. I ask questions. And it's lovely. And I always love it when people come up to me and ask me questions. It's amazing that the heads of industry, the people that we mix with, which we're lucky enough to mix with, and there are many who ask questions. It's fascinating to see what they ask. And talking of questions, anybody here got any questions for this crew here? What would you like to ask to try and get a response? I know a lot of the jockeys have been out walking the course, haven't they, this morning?
Some of them didn't. Most of them did, yes.
When you say some of them didn't, what happened?
I don't know.
Did the bus not turn up, or?
No, the bus was there.
The bus was there, but they weren't. So, tell us, what would you say to them?
Well, I'd give them, as my old boss, Neville Crump, his language was, I mean, if you did something wrong, you knew it and you would not do it again, I'll tell you that.
Exactly. It is true.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It is not a very nice thing not to turn up for something that has been arranged by a lot of people.
Yeah.
Went to a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And then we have, you know.
Who are those people? We will name, no we won't.
No, we won't name them. They'll know themselves.
They will know themselves, and it's a very, very good call. The people are riding on tomorrow, obviously, but we should have had a lot of people who should have been there, absolutely. Anybody put the hand up and let us know any questions you would like to ask any of these, because we've got a great age range from him to, where's the microphone? And look at this young man here. Look at, who is this young man over here? Let's have a little chat with this guy over here and find out exactly who he is. And by the way, he's sitting in front of the oldest jockey still riding. So this could be good. Let's have a chat with this young man. I know, don't worry. Now let's sit between you. This man tries to go out with my daughter, so you're a big fella. So what is your name?
Rocco Dettori.
Rocco Dettori. And who is your dad?
Frankie.
Dettori.
Yeah.
Hey, well done, big fella. So first of all, where is Dad at the moment and Mum? What they do?
I don't really know where Dad is, probably riding somewhere. But Mum's just at home. Yeah.
Well, it's great. Now, come on, what was it like? Did you come on Emirates? What was that like?
It was really nice. It was a good flight. Wasn't too long. Yeah.
What's it like having a dad like Frankie Dettori? Cool?
Cool. Very cool.
Very cool. And your mum is fantastic as well. How many brothers and sisters have you got?
Got the 3 sisters and the 1 brother who's over there.
That's right. So they call your dad the Italian stallion, and I can see why. So, come on. Tell us about your riding experience. When did Dad and Mum say, come on, you've got to ride, or did you? Because when Dad's a famous jockey, it almost puts pressure on you to follow him, or what? Tell us how you became interested in ponies.
Well, I started doing pony club when I was like around 5, and it was did like a lot of jumping and cross-country courses. Then I just started racing in July.
And how have you got on?
Really good. I like it so much.
You really?
Yeah, and Dad thinks it's too dangerous for me to be a jockey, but I keep nagging.
I love it. Dad thinks it's too... How many winners have you ridden so far?
I don't really know. Haven't been counting.
Oh, really? Plenty, I would think. How 30? You've won 13. Now he won
6 from 13.
You've won 6 out of 13. That's a better strike rate than Dad's got. It's incredible. Well done. That's a 47.2% strike rate. Listen, after you win on the ponies, do you do what Dad does and do the flying dismount?
Haven't practiced that much, so I can do on Shetlands. They're too close to the ground.
It's true, but you might decide to do a flip. So what's it like? When did you arrive? Have you been around what's the news?
Just arrived. We got back really late. We slept over the alarm clock and...
You didn't sleep?
Yeah, we slept in, woke up at midday, rushed over here.
Hang about. I wonder where he gets that from, turning left-handed to Leo. I will, don't worry, I'll come back to it.
Is going now with me afterwards with all the jockeys. He will see his pony. And of course, he cannot ride in the afternoon, but
No, haram.
he can see here the pony.
You see the oh God, yes, of course.
What is the pony called? Do you know what the pony's called? What's the pony
I
called?
can't
Do you know?
remember.
Rox? No?
I remember. Hazelnut.
Which one?
Hazelnut.
Hazelnut. Oh, Hazelnut. Hazelnut is a fantastic horse, and he loves chocolate. And he could prove a tough nut to... What's it going to be like for you? How much are you looking forward to this?
Looking forward so much. All the build-up, been waiting, thinking about this from like last month.
Honestly?
Yeah.
So it's Sheikh Mansoor, when he saw the pony races in Sweden, he says, we've got to have that. So, aren't you at school at the moment? Have you managed to get off school?
Yeah. Got an extra week on half term.
How did you do that? I've never had half an extra, goodness me. So it's exciting to be here.
Yeah, really exciting.
I love it. You're with Rocco, your elder brother, who passed his driving test? Leo, sorry, you're with Leo.
Yeah.
You passed your driving test?
Yeah, I did. It was in December. Yep. Driving all the time now. Now I feel like I'm a slave because I have to like go and pick up the dry cleaning, dad from the pub. I mean, I'm doing everything now. I can drive. It's kind of made it almost worse. But
I love it. Yeah. Listen, tell us, eldest son of a very famous guy. Was there any pressure on you? Because you can ride, but you didn't become a jockey.
Yeah, no. Well, I've always been into like just kind of more not of the jockey side, more of kind of like bloodstock and like kind of the betting side. So I've been going racing my whole life. So I've always been leaning towards that end rather than riding. But I still do ride and yeah, I don't know.
It's good to be here. What was it like when you heard? Because Mum and Dad couldn't be here, so your head.
Yeah, so I'm the agent, I'm the parent, I'm the bookie. I mean, I'm everything here. But yeah, I was told only a couple of days ago saying, "Oh, you're coming out," and I was like, "Okay, fine, I'll come out. Might as well. It's a free holiday, so I'll take it."
Well, go for it.
I should be at school, but I'd rather be here than in England. I'm pretty sure it's better weather. So.
And listen, what do you do? We were talking about, you've been listening, you probably just arrived a bit late, but we were talking about, jockeys planning for retirement. What are you going to do? And have you started a pension? You're what, 17 years old now?
Yes.
So what are you doing?
Currently at the moment, just doing A-levels, finishing off that, and then go in the real world. Don't know what I'm going to do, just see how it flows. I mean, I quite like, if I had anything to go into, I quite like to be a trainer. I think that is quite my way of path. I quite like that. I like how it works. But retirement...
No, you don't think of it, do you? At 17.
It's too far away.
Exactly. What would Dad do? Has Dad ever talked about retirement? Because he's getting...
yeah, well, he said he wants to get to 50 first.
Yeah.
And then, well, he's definitely going to start drinking a lot more when he retires.
Good line.
But...
I'll tell you said that. I love that.
No, he hasn't really mentioned it. He's kind of just forgetting the fact. He's almost trying to hide it. He almost wants to keep on going forever. He's kind of like pretending that it doesn't really exist.
You're right. He still thinks he's 27.
Yeah, exactly.
But he is incredible. He's the world's most famous jockey. Does that put pressure on you, being his son, or do you enjoy it?
No, I don't think it puts any pressure at all. I mean, to us, he's just a dad. I mean, we don't see it anything else, so it's just normal for us. Yeah.
He's a good old man. And I'm going to come back to your younger brother, Bujoba, big fella. What's it like riding in these races? Because Pat, who rode the Grand National winner up there before even your dad was born, he said the horses were having a gallop, and that's his telephone on. So that's a 500 dirham fine cash to Tomo. Yes, 500 dirhams to Tomo. Thank you, Pat. That's great.
It's Frankie ringing me to see what's going on.
Love it. Tell us about it. It's the first... Pat, will you answer? God, who is it? Is it Frankie?
None of your business.
Thank you. Tell us what the pony races are like. We haven't had them over here. It's thanks to Sheikh, Mansoor and Lara. We've got them. Tell us about the pony races.
It's really exciting. It's just like the smaller version of horse racing. It's a good way to get into horse racing and just fun.
And do you style yourself on anybody? Somebody like Ryan Moore or?
Don't really know. That's it.
Well, listen, we wish you all the very best. It's great to have you here. And I know Dad would love to be here, but he had a prior engagement in Newmarket, and he's flying back from the Melbourne Cup. But you are here, and Leo over there. And by the way, my daughter is here, India, so...
I'm going to see her tonight.
I'll give you see her tonight in a minute, I tell you. And we've known him since he was that big. And when Dad rode his 3,000th winner at Newmarket?
I can't remember the horse, but it was at Newmarket. I was there. Yeah, we were all there. I didn't look the best in the photo, but...
it's true, actually.
Yeah, I actually remember I was kind of double-chinned, eyes closed, but it was a very nice day, and especially like being at Newmarket for the 3,000, I thought it was quite special. It was almost like very connecting, how it's kind of like not at Yarmouth or somewhere. Newmarket's like the base, so I thought it was quite nice.
We planned it specifically.
Yeah, we planned it, I feel like. Yeah, exactly.
Listen, stand up, you two, face the audience. Can we give them a big round of applause? This is Leo, this is Rocco. Good touring. Enjoy. Well done, Leo. Smashing. By the way, can I just say, we mentioned him earlier, but somebody, your dad, incredible, best in the world. There's a guy actually sitting behind you who is nearly 70 years of age. He's been riding for over 50 years, and he's ridden over 4,000 winners. And I'd just like him to stand up. He's one of France's most famous sons, Gerard Rivas. So would you please stand up? This man is coming from Morocco, and he's literally just retired. I hope you've planned for your retirement. I hope he has. Hang on, actually, this could be interesting. Now, my French is not very good, but I know Elizabeth is good. Did he plan for his retirement? Can we ask him that? What did he do?
Yes, but he stopped to ride in Morocco, but he rides every day in France, every morning, yes.
He's incredible, isn't he?
Yes, he's incredible. Yes.
Did he plan for his retirement?
No, I don't have a plan. I think... Okay. Est-ce que tu as un projet pour ta retraite? Je dis que tu montais tous les matins.
J'y ai pas pensé encore, la retraite, c'est secondaire.
He's not thinking about that.
He's not thinking... So what did...
C'est pour les vieux la retraite, j'y ai pas pensé encore.
People, not for him.
I love it. What's he going to do now? Now that he's hung up his boots?
I say to you, he ride every morning, one filly, he buy one filly, he go to the beach every day, and he came to the race to La Teste every meetings.
It's lovely. Well, it's great to have you here, Gerard. Outstanding. Gerard Rivas, top man. Incredible. Oh, big brother. Oh, big brother. Isn't that lovely? I like all that. Well, we've had fun down here. Any questions for any of the panelists? We have this gentleman here with this gentleman here in the pink. Sir, over to you.
My name is Fernando Valdizan. I'm representing the Peruvian Jockey Club, and I'm also an ex-rider, an ex-jockey. And one of the problems that, before I continue that, I go every 2 or 3 months to the Jockeys School in Lima and speak to the apprentices. And one of the problems that I have seen over the years is that the teachers at the riding school, we have control of the apprentices until they start riding. Because we start making money early age in life, that after we start making money, we think that we have the world in our pocket. And we do not pay attention and we do not listen to the people that try to give us advices for our future. And that's a big problem that we encounter with the apprentices because, you know, like in every other sport, you have an apprentice and you make money for, but then after that you start losing that chance or those opportunities to keep making money. And by then, when they decide that to change and do something, it might be too late. So if we can do something to have control of the riders with the apprentices, when they start making money, it will help a lot, but it is almost impossible to do that.
Interesting point. Melissa, would you like to respond? Just a matter of interest.
So with our apprentice jockeys, they come into training with us for 4 years, and they're probably with us for about 5 years. All of our apprentices, their race earnings and winnings get put into trust, so they actually can't access that. They only are able to access their weekly wage, and they can then access their trust account to be able to buy a house or buy a car or pay their rent and things like that. And I guess the whole way we really try, we don't have a lot of apprentices each year. It's very difficult to get into our program, so they understand from the beginning they're in a really privileged position and they treat it accordingly, I think, and they have some good role models in the senior riders, and we talk to them constantly about the opportunities that they have that a regular person doesn't have, and I think we're quite lucky that they're very respectful of the opportunities they have, and we provide them with financial planning and education as well along the way, and we encourage them to invest their money, so by the time they leave us, the support network is still there. We have a good jockey assistance program even when they leave the apprentice program. But they're quite mature by the time they leave and respectful of the opportunities that they have.
That's an interesting response, and I think we have more on this. Where's the gentleman from Ireland? Sir, would you please stand up and tell us your name and what you do?
Frank Moran from the Irish Jockeys Trust. And quite like in the UK, the Irish Jockeys Trust is in existence since 1974. For the support particularly of injured, incapacitated and aged jockeys. Interestingly, our statistics last year showed that we had 119 individuals who looked for our support. Of the licensed jockeys last year, 29% availed of our support. Now, the main focus of the support that we give now is in the area of education and training. Over the last 5 years, we've had 27 individuals who have returned to college. 5 of them have done a master's course, and 3 of those 5s have gotten a 1-1. And there were comments earlier that a lot of jockeys want to stay in the industry, and that would have been our perception at the beginning. But in fact, they have dropped the blinkers of staying in the industry. And the guy who got a 1-1 this year in his master's degree acquired a qualification in engineering, in environmental engineering. Some girls have gone on to do millinery. Some people have done apprenticeships as electricians. So it's been a very diverse program of engagement. And we simply, and Helen O'Sullivan, who's with me, is in charge of the educational side of the program. She's a qualified careers counsellor. And we have what we call a relationship-based relationship with them. And the way we say it is, we have our arm around their shoulder for the length of time that they need our support, whatever that might be.
What a lovely thing to say. Well done, Ian. Incredible. 3 of them got master's degrees. You know, because some of us who come into racing, you think, oh, I could never be a whatever, I could never do that, but I can ride a horse, but I was never top of the class and all that sort of stuff. 3 of them got master's degrees and 1 got the highest honour going. That is amazing. Are there any more questions or any more comments for the panel? Because I think this has been most interesting. We've sort of had a cross-section. We've seen the youngsters coming over from England, although he's representing Italy in the big pony race tomorrow. And we've had basically all ages and our own thoughts. Is there one person left? Was there somebody pointing towards? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear. See you. Hello. Have you got? We're zooming up here with the mic. Jared, 1 second. There's a lovely lady. She's in the background. And, madam, over to you.
Hi. My name is Eleni. I am the Greek apprentice. And hearing Josephine saying story, it made me. Because last year I had a horrible accident. I broke my spine, and everyone thought that my career was over. Now, a year later, I feel better, and I feel that I want to go back to racing. I have to accept that even if I do, it won't be for long. So I have to go through the options. My retirement, and I.
Sorry, would you come forward a little bit? I'm sorry, because you're so far back, you're sort of losing our range of the microphone. Thank you so much. This is a heartwarming story. At least I hope it is. Yes? Do come down. It's lovely. This lady is from Greece, and it's lovely to have you here. Thank you for climbing over. Excuse our cameras. Now, just carry on. I tell you what, you've recovered from the back, haven't you? Oh, this is great. Come and join us. And what is your name again?
Eleni.
Elaine, and just continue the story.
And I would just like to say that it is very nice to know that there are people in the same position as you are. They've been through the same thing, so it's very encouraging that this whole festival brings us together, so we don't feel alone. We know that the same thing has happened to someone else, so we can take strength from them and carry on, whatever it is that we end up doing, racing or something else. But it is very nice. So thank you, Lara, and thank you, Sheikh Mansoor, for hosting this whole event.
Brilliant. Before you go, that is a lovely, and it's great to see you well. But you were lying on your back thinking, oh, am I going to recover and all that. Were you thinking then, what can I do in the future?
Yes, of course.
And what did you think?
I was thinking maybe I could try training or stable managing, but I don't know. I think I'm going to try once more in the saddle, and if that doesn't work again, we'll go through it again.
I love it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
What a lovely. That's what life's about. Lovely. I think we've covered just about everything. We've got another session still to come. So could we give a big round of applause to the people who've been entertaining us for the last hour and a quarter. Panel, thank you very much indeed. Absolutely superb. And I wonder who that telephone call was from.
I bet you'll worry all night about it, won't you?
I love